In 1976, New York Magazine released Nick Cohn's article, Tribal Rights of the New Saturday Night. The following year it was adapted into the film Saturday Night Fever, which was an instant success and catapulted John Travolta's career. In 1978, Esquire magazine released Aaron Latham's The Ballad of the Urban Cowboy, America's Search for True Grit. The film was also adapted into a successful film starring John Travolta, and once again, the film was a huge hit. In 1983, another article by Aaron Latham was released, this time in Rolling Stone, titled Looking for Mr. Goodbody. Just like the previous two articles, this article was adapted into a film that once again starred John Travolta. But unlike the other two, this was a complete flop. Siskel and Ebert rated it one of the worst films of 1985. It was nominated for 3 Razzie Awards, and according to the official Razzie Movie Guide, is one of the most enjoyable bad movies ever made. So, why did this film fail? And is it really as bad as people make it out to be? Well, strap in, because today I'm going to talk about the epic disaster that is the 1985 drama, Perfect.
Coming up next at the movies, a laughable film called Perfect.
Okay, before we go there, let's discuss the plot. John Travolta plays Adam Lawrence, a reporter for the Rolling Stone who is about to embark on the story of his career. A high-profile businessman named Mackenzie is arrested on drug charges, and Adam is determined to get an interview. While waiting for this story to unfold, Adam decides to write a second story about how health clubs are the new singles bars of the 80s. He visits a popular gym in LA called The Sports Connection. There he meets an aerobics instructor named Jessie. Adam is drawn to Jessie and wants her to be the subject of his story, but she isn't fond of reporters. The two do develop a relationship, but she can't trust him because a reporter nearly ruined her life a few years back.
When I was in high school, I was a swimmer. I was a very good swimmer. I broke world records. I made the Olympic team. That was the year that Carter decided to boycott the games in Moscow. Well, I didn't agree with him, and I was real vocal about it. And there was this reporter, and he said he wanted to write about how I felt. But what he ended up writing about, after a series of interviews, was my alleged love affair with my coach.
While all of this is happening, Adam lands his interview with Mackenzie. He records the interview on cassette tapes, but when he refuses to hand over the tapes as evidence, Adam could find himself in jail. You know, I always enjoyed this movie growing up, so I was extremely surprised to find out that this film wasn't successful. I mean, I can accept the fact that someone might feel indifferent about this film, but I kind of get the feeling that people were actually angry this film existed. Watching it critically, I did see several flaws. For example, the B-plot about Mackenzie is a bit strong for a B-plot, and can kind of steal the A-plot's thunder. Like, when Adam and Jessie first hook up, the moment is interrupted when Adam receives a call saying Mackenzie has agreed to be interviewed. The A-plot comes to a screeching halt as Adam flies to New York and the Mackenzie storyline takes center stage. Eventually, Adam flies back to LA and the aerobics plot starts up again, almost like it was put on pause.
Now where were we?
Both plots are interesting, but there are times where it feels like they're in competition with each other. The biggest criticism I personally have with this film is how the character of Linda is handled. After Adam stops trying to pursue Jessie as his focus for the story, Adam approaches Linda, who happily agrees to be his subject. Linda has no self-esteem. Her lack of self-worth is teetering on dangerous levels.
I can't wait till I have plastic surgery.
You're having plastic surgery?
Oh, yeah. A doctor friend of mine's going to do it for me. And he knows a guy who knows a makeup artist on the Dukes of Hazzard. He's going to redesign my face.
Do you think there's any connection here between your plastic surgery and your workouts?
It's a part of the same thing.
Which is?
Well, to be perfect.
The film does a really good job at making you care about Linda. Adam's conscience does get the best of him, and he ends up writing a think piece about the health movement of the 1980s, but his boss has a new story written in Adam's name. It's never really revealed what's in the published story except for Jessie's affair, but his boss orders the other reporters to go through Adam's notes, and when Linda opens up the magazine, the first thing Linda sees is an unflattering photo of herself. After this, Linda really isn't seen again. This never sat right with me. The film spent way too much time building Linda up to just have her get knocked down without a conclusion. Although I personally have a big problem with this, I don't think this caused the film's demise. I mean, Saturday Night Fever had a similarly engaging character that was also unceremoniously dropped off at the end, and this film is considered one of the best films of all time. So why did this film fail as hard as it did? Well, here's my theory. Okay, look, the Emoji Movie was not my cup of tea, but I also wasn't its target demographic. This movie was meant for kids, and as a kids movie, it's fine. It should have fallen under the radar like every other mediocre kids movie that came out that year. But that's not what happened, is it? Before the movie, before the trailer even, people were upset about this movie. Whether the Emoji Movie was good or bad is frankly irrelevant. It was viewed as a shameless cash grab on a popular trend, and the public completely rejected it. Well, in the 1980s, you know what was arguably even trendier than emojis are today? The 1980s were pretty much dominated by the craze to get fit. It was in music. It was marketed towards children, even showing up in a Disney movie. Celebrities were endorsing it. Seriously, in the 1980s, Jane Fonda put her A-list acting career on the back burner to become the world's most famous aerobics instructor.
Up, left, both, jump and trap, grapevine. You'll get it.
Now, you might be thinking, wasn't Saturday Night Fever about disco? Well, yes, but first of all, I'd consider Saturday Night Fever the exception, not the norm. Also, disco was extremely popular, but at the end of the day, it was just a trend that was mainly targeted at teens and 20-somethings. To put things in perspective, in the 1970s, someone outside of their 20s might not have known much about disco. But in the 1980s, even grandmas were jumping on the health club trend.
Oh, Charlie horse! Charlie horse!
She has a cramp, you pea brain!
So if you can remember how you felt when you heard a movie about emojis was being made, just imagine how people in the 1980s might have felt about a movie like this. And that's too bad, because not only is this film entertaining, it also has a very strong message about journalism that I think even critics at the time didn't appreciate.
Now, the editor of Rolling Stone in this movie is played by Jan Winter, who is the founding editor and current publisher of Rolling Stone. It's a good thing they got him to play himself, because if he weren't in this movie, he'd probably sue. The movie treats Rolling Stone as a totally irresponsible and unethical magazine.
That's right, Adam's boss in the movie is played by real-life Rolling Stone co-founder Jan Winter, and he does not paint himself in the best light. Aaron Latham, who wrote the article, also co-wrote the screenplay, and the character based on him also leaves something to be desired.
I read that you wrote about me.
Oh, come on, Carly. You know, the only thing worse than being written about is not being written about.
Why would these people embark on a movie that paints them in such a negative light? If I had to guess, I think they were trying to protest what journalism was becoming in the 1980s. You see, in the 80s, journalism was taking a very scary and aggressive turn. The lines between actual journalism and tabloid sensationalism was starting to blur.
The people who take it say it's an aphrodisiac. He says it's not, but he's called Dr. Sex.
I feel like reporters were up against a wall with the changes happening in journalism, and maybe this film was trying to protest that. Maybe if these two knew what was coming, they'd be more interested in what this film had to say. The strongest scene in the movie is when Jesse finds out the type of story Adam plans on writing at Linda's expense.
You talk to me about Emerson and baby boomers and physical great awakening, and all you do is write a little piece about people getting into each other's pants.
Hey, everything I wrote in that story is true.
Everything the other reporter wrote about me was true too, but it still hurts. It's not the truth I'm worried about, it's the tone and hurting people and using them. You're so disgusting. How can you be nice to somebody like Mackenzie and then shit on Linda? What did she ever do to you, or anybody else for that matter? Nothing. You're gonna ruin her life.
I don't want to leave this video on a negative, so let me tell you this. You know how I was saying I didn't like how the film left things with Linda? Well, in a weird way, while doing research for this video, I sort of got some closure. As stated in the beginning, this film was based on a real Rolling Stone article in 1983. I also found out that the character of Linda was loosely based on the real article's subject, Leslie. Although the real article isn't vicious, it does lack taste. There is one scene in the movie where Linda is talking to Adam, and Leslie actually makes a cameo appearance.
Most people join just to work out.
Oh, now speak for yourself.
So maybe I didn't get my closure with Linda, but at least I was given something through Leslie. Yes, Perfect has its flaws, but in the end, it's a solid movie with some pretty compelling arguments. Not to mention, the 80s are back in the zeitgeist, so the aerobic scenes are just amazing to watch. If you've seen this movie, I'd love to know your thoughts on the film. If you liked this and want to see more, be sure to like and subscribe, hit that bell, and as always, until next time. If you liked this video and want to see more, check out this video of mine.